Final Fantasy X was released for the PlayStation 2 in 2001, and the HD remaster version, the version that I'm currently playing, was released for the PlayStation 3 in 2013, the PS4 in 2015, the Nintendo Switch and Xbox One in 2019. Final Fantasy X is regarded as one of the best entries in the series, so I've been anticipating playing this one. Formerly, 7 was my favorite, and 12 took its place. But 7, 6, and 10 are regarded by most of the fandom to be top tier. So this one was high on my anticipation list. Final Fantasy X follows the adventures of Tidus. Tidus comes from a place called Zanarkand, and the game opens with the destruction of his city by a giant whale / insect thing called Sin. And he is basically thrown into the future where sin is still a problem, and there is a group of adventurers that are following a woman named Yuna that are trying to get these summons to fight sin and to rid the world from him for forever. So far, I think that Final Fantasy X has an amazing hook. Like the destruction of Zanarkand is really amazing, and it's very jarring. Most Final Fantasies, I think, have really great openings, and 10 is certainly no exception. 10 is turn / action based. You take turns with your various characters, and you select abilities, just like most of the classic Final Fantasies. This one is a little different, where where there isn't like a timed thing where if you take too long, your enemies will attack you. You have a lot of time to think about what your next move is, and I do like that aspect. However, I think it also kind of destroys some of the strategy that would normally go along with it, where you have to make quick decisions in certain battles. Whereas 10's is kind of whatever pace you want it to be. I wish that there was an option to sort of turn that off and make it more turn-based, whereas like if you take too long, then the enemy will start attacking you. But the way your characters level up, there is a sphere grid, and you earn various spheres through combat and doing quests and leveling up. And you basically get to choose how your characters level up. So if you want to focus on getting so-and-so's health up, like Luna, who is mostly a spellcaster, or I'm sorry, Lulu, who is mostly a spellcaster, pardon me, you can do that because her health kind of starts off low because she's a spellcaster. Or, on the other hand, if you really want to focus on boosting her magic stats, you can also boost how much magic she has. So you can there is some customability as far as what you can do with leveling up your characters, which I really like about the game. I like that there's some choice, and I know that there is a different version of it where you can get even more customizable. So maybe if I play this game a second time, which I imagine I will explore that option. So Final Fantasy X, it's been mostly linear so far. The first 10 hours that I've been into it, where you are trying to find these summons to fight Sin, and there hasn't been an open world or airship or anything like that. But you know what? So far, I don't really mind the linearity, because most Final Fantasies have this linearity, whether you realize it or not. And I think that the story and the characters are super endearing. This is the first Final Fantasy to have voice acting, and it kind of shows. The voice acting is by no means bad. It feels like a little bit of an older game in that sense, but I think in a way, because most of the characters on Tidus's team are in their early 20s or late teens. So the way they talk, it kind of makes them seem like they're very young and over their heads. There is that sort of like awkward walk animation that they have during cutscenes, where it's very obvious that they're on this sort of stiff loop. But that's to be expected from games of this era. Final Fantasy 12 perfected having natural movement during cutscenes and dialogue, whereas like 10 still feels like, what you would expect as far as like having them on rails or whatever. But it's by no means bad. I think it's a good first step into what they've come to expect from their games nowadays. Like, I mean, if you compare the cutscenes from 16, the 16 cutscenes are amazing. I will say that I think that Final Fantasy X is a good one for first timers. So I think a lot of people ask me about like why I like this series so much and which one I would recommend as far as if you're trying to get into the series for the first time. And I'll eventually make a video about that. But I think that 10, 15, or 7 would be any of those choices would be solid. I think I would mostly probably say between the three, 15 is the easiest to get into. But 10 is right behind as far as like having the tactical battles without much difficulty so far. Like I've only died once, and it was during a big boss battle, so that was to be expected. But once I figured out what I needed to do, I was able to win the second time around, so it was by no means super difficult. So I'm about 10 hours into Final Fantasy X as of this recording. I'm enjoying the game very much so far. I'm excited to see where it goes and to talk more about it after I finish it. Thank you for listening.